In a bustling city, there was a young man named Arman. He was ambitious, hardworking, and always chasing success. But no matter how much he achieved, something always felt missing. His mind was restless, constantly filled with worries about the future, comparisons with others, and the fear of failure. His days were packed with meetings, deadlines, and social obligations. Even in moments of rest, his mind refused to slow down. One night, exhausted from work, Arman took a long drive to clear his head. The streets were empty, the city lights flickering in the distance. Without realizing it, he had driven far beyond the city's outskirts. The road ahead was surrounded by dense forests, and a thick fog had begun to settle in. As he turned a corner, his car suddenly sputtered and stopped. No matter how many times he tried, the engine refused to start. Frustrated, he stepped out and looked around. There was no signal on his phone, and no other vehicles in sight. A cold wind blew through the trees, sending a chill down his spine. As he searched for help, he noticed a faint light deeper in the forest. With no other option, he decided to follow it. The path was narrow, covered in fallen leaves, and the air smelled of damp earth. The deeper he walked, the more the silence around him grew unsettling. The only sound was the distant hooting of an owl and the occasional rustle of leaves. After what felt like an eternity, he reached a small wooden house. The windows glowed dimly with candlelight. He knocked on the door, hesitantly. It creaked open on its own. Inside, an old man sat by the fireplace, his face calm, his eyes sharp yet kind. "Lost, are you?" the man asked, his voice deep and steady. Arman explained his situation. The old man nodded and gestured for him to sit. "The road will remain blocked until dawn," he said. "Stay here for the night. But before you rest, let me tell you a story." With no better option, Arman agreed. The old man leaned forward, his face flickering in the firelight. "Years ago, in a village not far from here, there was a merchant named Rafik. He was obsessed with wealth, working day and night to expand his business. He wanted to be the richest man in the land, believing that fortune would bring him happiness. He sacrificed sleep, friendships, even his health, all in pursuit of more." Arman nodded, finding the story eerily familiar. "One day," the old man continued, "Rafik heard about a legendary treasure hidden deep within a cursed forest. The villagers warned him. Many had gone searching, but none had returned. But Rafik was blinded by greed. He laughed at their fears and set off into the forest alone." The fire crackled as the old man's voice grew softer. For days, he wandered through the endless trees. The deeper he went, the more he lost sense of time. Food ran out. The sun rarely shone through the thick canopy. He began hearing whispers, soft, unsettling voices calling his name. One night, exhausted and starving, he stumbled upon a grand mansion in the heart of the forest. Inside, the halls were lined with gold, the tables filled with the finest food, and in the center of the great hall stood a man in fine robes, smiling warmly. "Welcome, traveler," the man said. "You have worked hard. You deserve all of this. Eat, drink, and rest." Arman felt a strange unease creeping into his chest as he listened. Rafik, overwhelmed with hunger and relief, sat down and feasted like never before. Every bite filled him with warmth. Every sip made his worries fade. But as he ate, something strange happened. His body felt heavier, his movements slower. He looked at his hands. They had begun to wrinkle. His reflection in a golden plate showed his hair turning gray, his skin sagging. The old man's eyes darkened. He tried to scream, but his voice was gone. He turned to the man in fine robes, now grinning wider. "You have spent your whole life chasing wealth," the man said, "and now you shall have all the time in the world to enjoy it. Here." Arman shivered. What happened to him? The old man stared into the fire. "No one knows, but travelers say that deep in the forest on nights like these, you can hear his whispers, warning others to turn back before it's too late." The room fell silent. The fire flickered, casting long shadows on the walls. Arman swallowed. "What are you trying to tell me?" The old man turned to him, his gaze piercing. "You spend your life running, chasing something you don't even understand. More success, more recognition, more wealth. But what happens when you finally get it? Will you be happy then?" Arman felt his breath catch in his throat. "The more you chase, the more you lose yourself," the old man continued. The forest Rafik entered wasn't just made of trees. It was the prison of his own mind, his endless desires, his greed. And just like him, you are walking into your own forest, deeper and deeper, losing yourself in the darkness.